What are some little known relationship green flags? You don't feel like you're competing for their time, you're just loved. Even when they are busy, you don't have to worry. People would think you need to spend all your time with someone, you don't. But the feeling of being loved removes any jealousy or insecurities. You just know it's good. The ability to coexist in very companionable silence. A friend of mine once said, "When silence is not cringe, the friendship is real." If it's a chore you both hate, you do it together. My late husband and I both hated folding laundry, but it had to be done. So we always did it together, made the chores less of a pain. My dad did that with us growing up. Anytime he needed to run errands or do housework, he would ask me or my brother to keep him company and talk to him. He said that made it was less about being bored and annoyed by doing chores and more happy hanging out and bonding time with his kids. It was always fun too. He genuinely did like spending time with us and joking around. We were never super close because he was pretty strict, but I always liked that quality time with him. It's a pretty convoluted story, but I was dating a guy, had to drive his car to get him from a situation, and wrecked his car due to mechanical failure, and called my mama to come get me so we could go get him, rescued him, then had to tell him I wrecked his car. His first question, "Are you okay?" My mom overheard, "That one's the keeper." A week or two into dating my boyfriend, I was driving to work and one of the wheels fell off my car on the highway. I pulled over to the side of the road and called my boss and a tow truck and then texted my new boo just for comfort. He asked where on the highway I was and said he would be right there, without hesitating. When he showed up and ran across the busy highway and scooped me up into a hug, I felt so loved and safe and thought, oh shit, this could be the one. No matter how angry you are at one another, you will still go out of your way or they go out of their way to help. I will be wicked pissed, but I will angrily make my wife her favorite dinner even though I don't want to eat. No matter how angry we are at one another, usually only lasts a short period of time, we will never sabotage or try to teach them a lesson. Many times it ends up being both apologizing to one another, arguing and getting angry is just part of a relationship and unavoidable. It's how you deal with it that sets it apart from a healthy relationship versus a bad one. I'm chuckling at the mental image of angrily cooking a meal. Use my razor without asking, humph. Tell me I'm becoming my dad? I'll show you. Now, where did I put that freaking basil? Effing make you the best goddamn spaghetti you ever had. We'll see who is unreasonable. Wife and I have the habit of once in an argument, we clean the entire house out of anger. By the time we are done, we apologize and we have a clean house. We fake argued a few times while cleaning in the house, but for some reason, the house doesn't get as clean as when angry cleaning. We get angry and super competitive wiping shit down. When you like the person that you've become when you're with them, everyone projects a different version of themselves around different people, and if you don't like who you become when you're with someone, it's probably not going to be the healthiest relationship. Your significant other should bring out the best in you. Came home from working a 12-hour shift one night to a full dinner with my favorite dessert. Never had a girlfriend just decide to cook me a full meal for me to come home to like that. Able to forgive mistakes. Early in our relationship, I accidentally backed my car into my fiance's car while coming out of the driveway. I definitely did damage. I immediately started freaking out and crying, and he just calmly got out of his car, came up to mine, and asked if I was okay. He got me to calm down and said it was fine, it was just an accident. He never made me feel bad about it. He called it our little bump to my friends to minimize my embarrassment. We laugh about it to this day. Side note, his dad, who works with cars, fixed his car for him at no cost. Willingness to forgive you when you make a mistake, speak in anger, etc., rather than hold a grudge or try to punish you. Doesn't mean they won't be still upset, of course. Willingness to admit fault and take responsibility when they make a mistake, speak in anger, etc., and work on their own negative behaviors. Taking you seriously when something upset you, even if it doesn't seem like a big deal from their perspective. Not losing their temper when things don't go their way. Example, do you want to be with someone who blows up when the car breaks down on a road trip and makes everyone else miserable, or the person who calmly calls the repair service and tries to make the best of it. Not making personal attacks during arguments, focusing more on how they are feeling and fixing the problem at hand, and then reconciling afterwards, rather than lashing out with a list of perceived character flaws. Example, I feel disrespected when, rather than you're such a disrespectful expletive of choice. Genuine care for you and others, a lack of self-centeredness, being open to hear the perspective of others even when they don't agree. An understanding that they are not the center of the universe, they are not always right, and there's always something to learn. In short, emotional maturity. When you're on a road trip and your partner feeds you fries and helps you drink your soda or whatever, I think that's such a nice simple gesture of kindness. Genuine support in your life goals, even if that means you two will have to go long distance for a while, or will have to have conflicting work schedule, or it will make your relationship harder in some way. If they love you and you want to be happy, they will be genuinely interested in what you want to do and will try to support you to do that in whatever way they can. They won't hold you back in any way. This is something me and my significant other have been facing something similar to this recently. He's just graduated and is looking for a job. As much as I want him to stay close by so we don't have to do long distance for any more time than we have to, I'm going home for the summer, but if he gets a job the other side of the country, I won't stop him, and as long as I'm around, I will help him pack up. During the beginning of our relationship, whenever my partner and I will argue, he would try to hold my hand, rub my arm, or hug me as we talked. When I'm wound up, I feel like I need space to think, like physical space, so I would always push him away. We would always get to a point in our arguments where he would just shut down or walk out of the apartment, and I couldn't figure out why. I thought that he just didn't care enough to talk these things out with me. Finally, I learned that physical touch is a big part of his love language, and that was what he needed during, after our fights, to feel emotionally connected with me. Since then, when one of us gets upset, we hold hands and talk things out. It's a weird small thing that made a huge difference in our relationship. This one time when my boyfriend and I were having an argument that we couldn't find a solution to, and we had easily spent over half an hour thoroughly discussing it, trying to find a solution, at the end we basically came to the conclusion that we weren't going to find a solution at that moment, and I joked saying, we so rarely have problems, we don't even know how to fix it when we do have one. And he laughed and responded with, we'll circle back and deal with it the next time it happens. Hasn't happened since, and we are going on 3 years strong. We both couldn't be more in love. My ex would tease me a lot and would tease me in front of his family. He would say things like, oh, she changed her outfit 3 times because she thought you guys would judge her. Or she didn't really want to come over, but I convinced her. He would be laughing and joking, but these things would be the truth. When I was going to meet my current boyfriend's family, I was really nervous. In the car, I said, please don't tell them how nervous I am. It's so embarrassing. He looked at me in shock and said, I am on your side. Why would I tell him that? And it was like a freaking light bulb. Love this guy. Being able to have a healthy conflict without fear that conflict will cause the end of the relationship. It's green flag and a relief to have natural disagreements and communication about those disagreements without constant fear that someone is going to hit the nuclear option. I was a kid and did the kid I don't love you thing to my dad during a typical parent-kid fighting moment. He sat me down real serious and said, honey, I love you no matter what. There are some things you can say that you can never ever take back. I know you don't mean what you just said, but it hurts. Please don't ever say that to anyone ever again unless you absolutely mean it. Words can hurt a lot, and those words you can never change. I've never said anything like that to anyone I've loved ever again. I grew up watching my stepmom and stepsister say they hated each other, they never loved each other, etc., and it made clear just how toxic that talk was. My now husband, during a fight, once told me to leave his house and never come back. He bought a house. I was about 3 weeks from moving in. I got my shit, but told him, if I walked out of that door, don't ever expect me to come back. So choose now, because some things you can't take back. I don't know if it was my tone or my face or what, but it got to me before I closed the door behind and I didn't leave. He was used to fighting like that from a toxic prior relationship, but I told him I wasn't gonna have it. We have hit really rough patches in the decade since, and the only time divorce was brought up, it was an honest possibility. We worked through it in part because we were able to put that option on the table without using it as a weapon or an empty threat. Your partner does things for you without asking and remembers little details. For example, I like eating with a fruit fork, the smaller version of the diner fork. I actually googled that since our family calls them the little forks. Anyway, my partner remembers this and will grab it for me when we are dishing up food. Another good one is they make you feel appreciated. Listening to you and remembering the things you've said. Back when me and my boyfriend started dating, he would sometimes bring up things that I've said before. Example like my favorite food, candies, etc. made me super happy and could tell he genuinely cared. You don't feel like they are playing games. Communication is direct and you don't feel too nervous about what you should or shouldn't do or say. And you're not worried about what they do or don't do or say. Some butterflies is normal, of course. To clarify, my point here is it's possible to meet someone who, right from the beginning, you are not overly concerned about your interactions. You don't have to think too much about what to text them or when. Same with calls. They don't leave you wondering about when they will respond to you and what delaying means. They don't say or do cryptic things that you have to go home and call in a panel of friends to analyze. This is not to say in the beginning you shouldn't take care to be on your better behavior and not to overshare. This is not game playing. It's being considerate. I drink a lot of water and sometimes my boyfriend would stay until late and I would fall asleep. Before leaving, he always made sure I had a glass of full water on my nightstand in case I woke up thirsty. It's always the small details. The best relationship I had was when we both fell asleep on the couch watching TV. And I woke up with her literally using me as a full body pillow. Of course, I couldn't move until she woke up and suffered from muscle cramps and pins and needles for about 3 hours. But the fact that she slept through the night was a milestone in the relationship and I wasn't going to move until she woke up. Later, she began teleporting into bed after falling asleep because I learned better positioning and leverage. Honestly, this is so important. I've had to get rid of certain people because it was clear that they didn't care to actually listen. My ex and best friend are perfect examples of this. I found myself when in phone calls with them, I would constantly be asking questions. How was your day? Oh, that happened. Wow, that must have been hard. Did you ever finish that thing you were going to do? Oh, that's good. Then when it came to me, I would start talking about my day and things that happened and I would just get back, yeah, for sure, okay, yeah. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Then my ex would tell me that I didn't talk enough. I'm like, excuse me? Maybe because when I actually feel like talking and start telling you something you don't care and just go on about yourself, my best friend would never ask how I was, but I would always ask how she was, what she was up to, ask about her son. Not once I can remember her asking how I was or how I was feeling. If she shows equal interest in hanging out with you, if it feels like you're dragging them into going on a date, they are really not into you, no matter what they may say. Besides, let's be honest, wouldn't you rather date someone who is as excited and interested in seeing you and you are in seeing them? You want your partner to be happy and not the other way around. Oftentimes, people want to be in a relationship to solely make themselves happy. It feels easy, effortless, unforced, natural. This is a good sign of a real connection. Compromise feels like second nature. You both breathe thoughtfulness and consideration towards each other. You figure things out together. You see each other, respect each other, and appreciate each other. It's the small things. The doing something just because it will make your partner smile and wanting nothing in return. A few months ago, I was having a bad day and I texted my partner about the basics and he said to head over to his place after work. I showed up so defeated by the day, opened the door, and my dog is there. He had spoken with my parents, picked up my dog from the house because he knew that's what I needed. He was cooking dinner and told me just to go cuddle on the bed with my dog while he took care of everything else. That's when I knew he and I were in it for the long haul. Willingness to attend family events, get to know your family, regardless of how difficult it might be. Maybe it's just me, but when someone doesn't care too much about people's opinion of them, like when they aren't afraid to act goofy in front of people that they don't know, I absolutely love people that don't take themselves too seriously. They're happy you have your own things you're into. You're happy they have their own things they're into. There's no battle of preferences, no nasty little "your hobby is dumb" comments. Arguments are productive and fair, you listen to each other even when you're angry. They can still be difficult and everyone gets too angry sometimes, but if one or both of you is constantly mad and fixating on the same issue, it's time to go to therapy or jet out of there. The person makes time for you. Whether it's a romantic relationship or friendship, people will always find a way to make time for those they care about. Let's say I'm super busy with my day, I can find 10 seconds to respond to your text. I have to eat a meal at some point, so even if I'm super pressed, I can invite you to have a meal with me. At a restaurant, at a fast food place, at someone's home. I can call you when I'm driving in my car. It baffles me when people say I was too busy. Too busy to what? You mean you couldn't spare 10 seconds from your day to try to nourish your relationship with the other person? We all know you were on your phone while pooping. You could have texted then. While we were dating, my now wife would always put on a fake diamond ring whenever she would go out with her girlfriends. When I noticed it once and asked her about it, she said she would do it because it would discourage most, certainly not all, guys from hitting on her. It showed the type of person she was and was such a simple and easy gesture that no one I ever dated before had ever done. I obviously had to replace that fake one with a real one.